भारत बोध का अर्थ केवल अतीत की स्मृति नहीं, बल्कि उस चेतना से जुड़ना है जो हमें अपनी जड़ों से शक्ति देती है और भविष्य की राह दिखाती है। नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Bharat Bodh Kendra, Habitat Library and Research Center, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you to the very first edition of Samlapa, the dialogue series. This initiative has been conceived by our Honorable Director, Professor Dr. K.G. Suresh, to create meaningful conversations around India's knowledge systems, culture, and heritage. And what better way to begin than with a book that explores the deeper dimensions of Indian classical dance, Odissi dance, aesthetics, therapeutics, metaphysics by Dr. Reela Hota. Now, we welcome our author for the evening, Dr. Reela Hota, Odissi dancer, author and culture curator. Dr. Reela Hota is a renowned Odissi dancer, researcher, and cultural ambassador. She has been known for integrating Indian classical dance with yoga, healing sciences, and spiritual philosophy. Through her performances and writings, she has worked to bring Indian wisdom traditions closer to contemporary society. Her book is not just an academic work, but also a reflection of her personal journey and sadhana in the world of dance and spirituality. We are indeed privileged to have an eminent panel with us this evening. We also welcome our panelist, Professor Soumendra Mohan Patnaik, Professor of Anthropology at the University of Delhi and former Vice-Chancellor of Utkal University. Professor Soumendra Mohan Patnaik is a distinguished anthropologist with over 27 years of teaching and research experience, a former Vice-Chancellor of Utkal University and past President of Indian Anthropological Association. Professor Rajnish Kumar Mishra, Professor at the School of Sanskrit and Indic Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Professor Rajnish Kumar Mishra is a noted scholar of Sanskrit and Indic thought with expertise in Kashmir Shaivism, Buddhism, linguistics, poetics, and comparative religion. He has supervised over 40 doctoral and MPhil scholars and mentored international researchers. Professor Ajay Verma, Professor at the Center for Philosophy, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Professor Ajay Verma specializes in Indian and continental philosophy, comparative philosophy and religion, with over 2 decades of teaching experience at Delhi University and Jawaharlal Nehru University, recipient of the Indian Philosophy Congress Medal and N.V. Thadani Memorial Prize. Mr. Saurabh Kumar Tiwari, Additional Secretary, Cabinet Secretariat, Government of India, could not join as he has unexpectedly developed some health issues. And to chair this session, we are honored by the presence of Professor Dr. K.G. Suresh, Director, India Habitat Center. We welcome you, sir. Professor Dr. K.G. Suresh has a rich, wide, and varied experience as a senior journalist turned academician. Prior to joining India Habitat Center, he has served as a Vice-Chancellor, Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University, Journalism and Communication, Bhopal, Asia's first and India's oldest and largest media university, and Director General, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, India's premier media training institution. He is a recipient of the prestigious Ganesh Shankar Vidyarthi Award for outstanding contribution to journalism by Ministry of Education, Government of India. I extend a very warm welcome to all our esteemed panelists and the chair to begin today's session on a truly auspicious note. We shall now proceed with the lighting of the ceremonial lamp. The lamp is a symbol of wisdom, knowledge, and the removal of darkness. May its flame inspire us towards truth, learning, and enlightenment. Now, we request our esteemed dignitaries to come on dais for the lighting of the lamp. Thank you to our distinguished guest for lighting the lamp of knowledge. With this scared beginning, we evoke positivity, wisdom, and the spirit of learning to the guide today's discussion. May I request all the panelists to please take the seat on the dais. Before we begin, let me briefly outline the flow of this evening. We will start with opening remarks from our chair and panelists. This will be followed by a dialogue on the theme of the book. And finally, we will open the floor for audience questions and comments. Without further delay, I now request our chair for this evening, Professor Dr. K.G. Suresh, Director, India Habitat Center, to kindly introduce Bharat Bodh Kendra and his Samlapa, the dialogue series initiative.
Thank you, Sangeeta. The star of the day, or rather the evening, Ms. Reela Hota. All the distinguished panelists who are eminent academicians in their own right, the very distinguished audience present here, a very good evening to you, happy Onam to you, happy Eid to you, happy Teachers' Day to you. It's a very auspicious occasion today, and I would like to pay my tributes to Reela's mother who is present here, because I think that mother is the first teacher. So, we welcome her. It's indeed a new beginning for us too. I just want to, because we have very eminent panelists here who are going to throw light on this very important subject. I'm not an authority on Odissi, except that my wife and in-laws are from Odisha. That is the only thing I know about Odisha. So other than that, I think the experts are here. Of course, I watch a lot of Odissi concerts. I go there to Jagannath temple whenever I visit Bhubaneswar, Cuttack, Bhadrak. I watch a lot of concerts. But other than that, they are the authorities on this. But I want to say I've been a student of Indian history, Indian tradition, Indian knowledge systems. And in that capacity, just a couple of months back, we established the Bharat Bodh Kendra at India Habitat Center. The objective of India Habitat Center, of Bharat Bodh Kendra at India Habitat Center is to create awareness about Indian culture, Indian civilization, Indian history, Indian heritage, Indian values. And we have a segment in the library Our library was earlier known as the Habitat Library and Resources Center. We have redesignated it as the Habitat Library and Research Center. So without changing the name or the acronym, maybe perhaps I am the first academician to head India Habitat Center. So obviously research comes as part of the baggage. So we have started this research wing, and Bharat Bodh Kendra is aimed at promoting Indian culture, and we have a dedicated segment at the library. I am sure some of you who are members of the Habitat, India Habitat Center, must have certainly visited our this segment, Bharat Bodh Kendra, where today we have a lot of books dedicated to Indian culture, Indian civilization, Indian philosophy. In fact, one of the upcoming initiatives of Bharat Bodh Kendra is our tie-up with the Indian Council of Philosophical Research, where every month we are going to have a dialogue on one aspect of Indian philosophy. It was as part of of Bharat Bodh Kendra that we had the International Yoga Day celebrations here. And from today we are beginning a series called Samlapa. And I want to give full credit to, to the HLRC team led by, Miss Geeta, who is here, and, for taking this forward. We decided to have a series of lectures, book discussions, workshops on different aspects of Indian culture. And we were looking for a word. The general common, some words have become very common, Samvad, Sanchar and all that. So we have recently named our quarterly journal. We are the first newsletter of IHC we have started publishing. The first quarterly has already come out. We released it on Independence Day. That is called a Sambhashan, And so we were looking at an appropriate word, and we spent a lot of time, and we came across this word Samlapa. Now, Samlapa or Samlapa, as in they say in English, it means a discourse, And as part of Samlapa, we thought that, and that was the time when Reela came to meet me. And we had a lovely discussion. And I realized that maybe this is one aspect. Everybody knows about Odissi. I said about myself. But how many of them understand Odissi? How many of them appreciate Odissi? I am a student of mass communication, a teacher of mass communication. We run film appreciation courses, including at, say, places like FTI Pune, where I was a governing board member. And film appreciation is different from watching a film. You appreciate the different elements of film from the cinematographic point of view, from the script point of view, which perhaps when you watch a film, you are just a cinegoer. But when you appreciate a film, you have to appreciate it from different aspects. Similarly, dance also has to be appreciated from, and it's a coincidence that I come from a family of dancers, artists. My great-grandfather was the guru of Uday Shankar, and he had set up the Indian Cultural Center at Almora. He in fact passed away. He passed away on the lap of his disciple, Uday Shankar. Then my grandfather was Professor of Fine Arts at Rabindra Bharati University. And so it is in the family. So I thought that maybe I also felt that everybody talked about dance, everybody enjoyed dance, but very few people understood dance. And today when we are even as part of our academia, and our professor from Sanskrit studies knows it very well, we have a lot of focus and emphasis today on the Indian knowledge systems, IKS, and where we are looking at trying to comprehend, understand what our ancestors have contributed and how they are relevant today. So when I was the Director General at Indian Institute of Mass Communication, what we did was that as part of, much before, I was there in 2016, so this NEP came in 2020, we started as part of the Indian communication, studies, we started Natya Shastra. At that time, of course, there was opposition and there was, but I felt that we teach them all Western theories, but what have been our own theory, communication theory, you know. So it is important to understand our own communication theory. We have been communicating, we have been engaging in dialogue for centuries. The entire Bhagavad Gita is a discourse. It's a dialogue between, you know, Krishna and Arjuna. You have Yama and Nachiketa, the discourse between them. You have discourse between, you know, this Yudhishthira and Nachiketa. Similarly, you have so many other, you know, and the entire, you know, Adi Shankaracharya and Mandana Mishra, that is totally Shastrarth, the entire concept of Shastrarth. So similarly, I felt that, you know, when Odissi dance, therapeutics, aesthetics, metaphysics, we need to understand it from those perspectives also, and we need to have discussions on that. And I felt that this is a very important contribution, though I think that you know, I really appreciate that, given the fact that generally such books on such deep issues are generally written by very senior, on the verge of retirement artists. But for Reela, who has so much to contribute as a practitioner in the coming years, she has already thought of writing this book, is indeed praiseworthy. And I wish to see more of practitioners actually, you know, today the critical divide is between practitioners and the theorists. And that is why we always talk about the industry-academia gap. So the practitioner then also starts appreciating the theory, and the theoreticians become practitioners. That we need to bridge that gap. And I think this book is an attempt, from whatever I could go through in, you know, the flipping through the pages, is an attempt for the practitioners to understand the deeper. And I believe that apart from the others, it is equally important that every dance student actually reads this book, you know. It is important because what they teach in classrooms, they do teach the basic aspects, but the theoretical understanding of that dance is also, of that form of art, is also very important. I'm sure, as I said, I'm not an authority on Odissi, so I would like to refrain from talking on this particular subject. But yes, Indian knowledge system is very close to our heart, and that is what we are trying to do. I really thank each one of you that, you know, initially when you have the first program, you are always a little nervous. So today also I was regularly checking with Geeta ji. I said, will we have some people? Because this was not just about Reela's program, it was about Samlapa, how it will take off. And I'm really grateful to each one of you for making it, and I can assure you that in the coming days, each of these Samlapa series is going to be much more interesting, which is certainly going to add value to, you know, our understanding of Indian knowledge system, our understanding of Indian culture and civilization. And I'm sure that, you know, this session is also going to be very fruitful. Congratulations, Reela, once again. And thank you, all the distinguished panelists, for making it happen. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring words and for guiding this initiative. Now I request author of the book, Dr. Reela Hota, to speak about the book and take it forward.
Namo Narayan, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. A special thanks to Professor K. Suresh ji for considering my book worthy of discussion. And to our esteemed panelists, your gracious presence will surely propel the message of this book forward. To my mother, Srimati Vijayalakshmi Hota ji, for putting the seed of the book in my mind, and my publisher, Prabhat Prakashan, for bringing my first book to light. A little bit about how this book came into being. I started learning Odissi at the age of 8. Simultaneously, I was introduced to ashram life at the age of 11. And over the next 30 to 40 years, along with my dance sadhana, I practiced Bhakti Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Mantra Yoga, and Raj Yoga. My spiritual guru, Swami Satyananda Saraswati ji, founder of Bihar School of Yoga, exposed us to an inclusive atmosphere, from tantric kriyas to Vedic rituals to Shabad Kirtan and Sufi Manganyar, which shaped my worldview. And over time, I realized that these spiritual principles were deeply embedded within Odissi itself. So, to explore this connection further, I was awarded the Senior Fellowship from the Ministry of Culture, which led to the current book. The Natyashastra states that bhavas pervade the mind. I have chosen to interpret this purely from the dancer's perspective, that is, the internal impact of the dance. And the title of this book reflects my understanding that Odissi is not just aesthetically rich, it follows metaphysical principles that make it inherently therapeutic. And scientific research on Odissi is limited, so I have drawn parallels with other healing systems to illustrate that from Vedanta to Taoism to Noha philosophy, spiritual traditions are reflected through arts. My approach, therefore, gives an overview of the universal origins of a particular aspect and then dives deeper into its manifestation in Odissi. The book opens with the energy aspect of creation, which is dual in nature, positive and negative, that manifest in our bodies as physical and mental energies. And their flow is regulated by energy centers called chakras. And methods such as Hatha Yoga were developed to keep this energy system in optimal health. I have proposed that Odissi dance too is one such method, and its postures point towards this. For instance, Chauka resembles Uttanasana, which is practiced to stabilize our Mooladhara chakra. Interestingly, the healing martial art form Qigong has a similar lower body position. Kumbhapad is like Gorakasana that reverses the flow of energy. Lord Krishna pose in Odissi is similar to Natvarasana, which balances the nervous system. Even our eye movements are just like yogasanas. Bhayanak Drishti, for instance, is like Sambhavi Mudra, which activates the vagus nerve and relaxes the body. Odissi postures and movements are accompanied by hastas that too work at the pranic and elemental level. And chapter 2 explores this aspect. Here too you'll find similarities between Odissi hastas and mudras used in rituals and therapy across cultures. For example, Anjali Hasta of Odissi that can be seen in Tantric Devi Upasana and Vedic Gayatri Mantra is one of the most common hand gestures in Christian iconography. And it is practiced in mudra therapy to balance the left and right hemispheres of our brain. Another example would be Abhay Mudra of Buddhism, known as Ahimsa Mudra in Jainism. It's the same gesture of blessing used by the ancient Sumerians and Babylonians. And known as Pataka Hasta in Odissi, it is practiced in yoga to overcome fear. Readers will find it interesting to learn that American scientist and healer Samuel West has used Mukula Mudra to electrically recharge a diseased organ. And in Odissi, Mukula Mudra is used to depict a flower eating and a flower, another way of showing a flower, among others. Chapter 3 explores the medicinal qualities of music. From the Australian didgeridoo to the Raga Chikitsa of Ayurveda that we draw from, studies indicate that music has therapeutic power. While our ragas that are based on chakra sounds are a well-researched subject, I came to learn that rhythms and instruments too affect the body in unique ways. Chapter 4 onwards, I veer towards the consciousness aspect. I have argued that Odissi is a dynamic form of meditation where you can clearly see the progressive stages of Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga leading to Samadhi. The first step, Pratyahara, where the mind is withdrawn from the outside stimuli. It is induced in Odissi through the elaborate and ritualistic makeup and ornamentation. The act of Angarachana, as we call it, that is wearing jewelry, is akin to the tantric Anganyas. where they touch parts of the body while reciting mantras. A yogic meditative Kriya Yoga Nidra is designed on similar lines. Now for the second step, Dharana, Natya Shastra recommends 9 preliminary music to focus the mind. And finally, to go from Dharana to Dhyan, Odissi always begins with an invocatory dance which is full of meditative symbols and objects. For example, in Bhagavati Stotram, Durga, Bhairav, Vishnu, even the Asuras, then nature like the sun and the moon, and even weapons are meditative symbols according to yogic texts. In chapter 5, I explore the transformative power of love. Studies indicate love can heal wounds faster. Interestingly, even acting love is healing. And in Odissi, love is the catalyst to Shringaras, a key concept of Indian aesthetics. Yogis say rasa is a healing nectar residing within the body that can be unlocked through methods such as Khichdi Mudra, Vishwamitra Kriya, or even deep concentration. For sage Bharata, Sattvic Abhinay or histrionic representation seems to be one such method, and the Sankhya reference indicates its spiritual intentions. Certain emotions that we portray, such as envy and discouragement, are relatively easy to play. But other emotions, such as paralysis and horror, that our texts say must be weaved into the story, require great concentration of the mind, as sage Bharata himself puts it. And it is concentration that leads to meditative states with all of its accompanying joy and positivity, hallmarks of sattvic qualities. Love can be devotional as well. Research confirms that devotion reduces emotional stress. And in chapter 6, I have explored how the Navada Bhakti of Vishnu Puran is reflected in the entire Odissi repertoire to generate devotion in the dancer. And what about the elusive transcendence called Samadhi, Nirvana, or Satori in different traditions? I have attempted to establish that transcendence is a tangible reality that is induced in the body through dance. In yoga, we deny the senses to transcend. But in Odissi, like Tantra, we heighten the senses to transcend. And to access the deepest layers of the mind, you need a transcendental symbol, which is Krishna. In Odissi, the Ashtapadis take center stage because yogis equate Krishna to the primordial element ether, the qualities of which are peaceful, still, and calm. So when we concentrate on Krishna, we involute the process of creation and experience all the resultant bliss of Krishna consciousness. Of course, the aesthetic samadhi is temporary, but a performance can give a thrilling glimpse of that state. Many dancers will vouch for that. And the Natya Shastra lists samadhi as one of the outcomes of a successful performance. We even end every performance with a dance called moksha. And auto-hypnotic states have been observed in ritual dances across cultures, such as the Korean shamanic dance or the voodoo dances from Haiti, and we too need such studies. Finally, the book discusses the performing space based on the principles of Vastu Purusha Mandala. After all, spaces have electromagnetic qualities that affect our minds tremendously. I conclude by expressing my hope that this book will encourage a wider discourse on the deeper dimensions of Odissi. Just as I no longer dance merely for name and fame and all of that, but to calm the agitations of my mind, the reader may similarly be inspired to take up Odissi or any other consonant art form for that matter for its elevating qualities. I dedicate this book to my father, Swargya Purna Chandra Hota. May transcendence lead me towards you. Namo Narayan.
Thank you, ma'am, for your enlightening words. Now, our next panelist is Professor Soumendra Mohan Patnaik. May I request you to please give your views?
Honorable Chairperson Professor K.G. Suresh, Director, India Habitat Center. Sri Saurabh Tiwari ji, who could not make it today. Professor Rajnish Mishra, School of Sanskrit and Indic Studies, JNU, Professor Ajay Verma, Center for Philosophy at JNU, and author of the wonderful book. I wanted to use the same word which Professor Suresh used, The Star of the Evening, by Dr. Reela Hota. Ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely thankful to Bharat Bodh Kendra for considering me worthy of such an erudite panelist comprising experts from Indology, philosophy, media studies, and performing arts. More importantly, to Madam Hota for her kind invitation. I also consider it as my privilege to be a part of this historic occasion. Institutions and discourses, they start from small events. And I can see the future of this Bharat Bodh Kendra in terms of Samlapa. And I congratulate our Honorable Chairperson, Professor Suresh, for conceiving this idea and making us a part of this historic occasion. As an anthropologist, I find myself little out of place, maybe as an odd man out. Maybe Reelaji thought that I belong to the same state where the classical dance form Odissi originated. But now I realize Professor Suresh also belongs to the state 50%. Anthropologist or anthropology as a discipline, it undertakes holistic study of all aspects of human behavior. And therefore they are known as jack of all trades, but master of one. The art of reaching out to the other. I put it under quote unquote, the art of and the science of understanding the other, and abstract philosophical questions handled in a concrete and empirical manner. And there lies the beauty of the discipline. What philosophers search for, or what philosophers look for at an abstract and cosmic metaphysical level, anthropologists try to explain them using holism, comparison, focusing on microcosm. I will use this gauge to reflect upon Madam Hota's magnificent contribution to this body of literature on Odissi and its manifestation in our civilization. When I heard of the title of the book, Odissi Dance, Therapeutics, Aesthetics, and Metaphysics, what struck me was the completeness of the phenomenon. How an ancient dance form can constitute a site for exploring everyday life situations such as health and wellness experiences, and its connection with the nature of cosmic existence, elucidating the absolute truth, the absolute knowledge, which constitute the ontological basis of Indian civilization. The epistemic location of the present book is vast. You can make out from the length and breadth of the book in terms of its chapterization and the topics which it includes. Even though it is vast, it takes care of the intricately connected themes which are related to one another in a logical manner. And therefore, the endeavor of the author is highly promising. It has lot of potential, then it has manifested now. I congratulate Reela ji for conceiving this innovative terrain to situate her inquiry revolving around this classical dance form. I was fascinated by the richness of its methodology. And as a social scientist, I would like to draw all of your attention. Some of our students, PhD students from Delhi University are sitting here. I would like to draw the attention of the youngsters to the richness of the methodology. It examines the archaeological and ancient historical evidences along with the archival and Indological sources collected from the state and central government, including the temple administration at Jagannath Puri. Look at the range, the diversity. Such data has been analyzed against the first-hand experiences of the artist herself through intellectual negotiations, critical understanding, and the bliss of body movements. Beautiful blending of mind, body, and heart. A methodology which is essentially India-centric. Please don't take it as an ordinary one, because it is of so paramount importance in the teaching pedagogy of the contemporary social sciences, humanities, and liberal arts, especially when, our chairperson has rightly said, especially when the National Education Policy 2020 focuses on experiential learning. Here is a document, a demonstration how experiential richness can be contrasted with or can be complemented with the richness of the secondary sources, bringing out the inflorescence of understanding. Some of the quick recapitulation of what Madam Reela has already talked about. It was so fascinating to know that how she contrasts the varieties of energy within the body in terms of the singular idea of prana, chitta sakti and prana sakti. And she doesn't stop at the level of Odissi. She goes to the Mayan art in Mexico and compares that how art is essentially recognizing the principle of duality, and this duality of chitta and prana connecting together in the source of energy within the body and mind is the beauty or is the essence of the dance. Dance postures, chauka, tribhangi, movement of leg and feet, torso movement, they are all connected to the manipulation of the chakras. Such a fantastic way of connecting the body movements with the inner consciousness. Aesthetic of mudra and their therapeutic functions, like how mudras balance the tattvas in the body, how they control the prana in the body, they are all very clearly elaborated in different chapters of the book. One thing which struck me very important, that the movement of the eye, and movement of the eye nurtures, invigorates, invokes the Ajna chakra. And that is so true. One can try out and do it even if one is not a dancer. The connection between hand, the fingers, and the Panchabhut in terms of water, earth, akash, air, and fire is very, very strikingly connecting to what our ancient philosophy says, that what is there in your pind is in Brahmand. What is in Brahmand is in your pind. Healing vibration of Odissi music. And just now she explained how it is a dynamic form of meditation and how it is elucidating on healing practices. The most important point which I would like to mention before I conclude, I know the time is very short. She talked about moksha and transcendence. She talked about the Ananda Samadhi, which she clearly says that is transient, which is temporary. And this Ananda Samadhi takes place when the performer forgets his presence and only the performance remains. When you forget yourself and only the performance remains, that is a Samadhi. And that is an Ananda Samadhi. As a yogi, Madam Reela has experienced it, and as a dancer, she has also experienced it. The unity of dancing experience and the Samadhi of a yogi blends together. She says very clearly that the yogic experience is spontaneous, maybe the experience of a dancer is cultivated, or maybe it is inculcated. It is through the through the continuous training. But as a yogi, it comes as a rupture, spontaneously, without any conscious effort. It comes when the blessing flows. And it is a moment when she has heard, experienced the Anahat Chakra and this Anahat sound and the sound of the buzzing bees. Maybe she has also tasted the nectar, maybe the sounds of thunder. I was reminded of this duality of her role as a yogi and as a dancer. And this takes me to one of the works of Sri Aurobindo, which tells us that when we are completely meditating in an Ananda Samadhi, which is continuing for a while, we are in the Chaitanya of Sat-Chit Anand. We are immersed in the Sat-Chit Anand. If it is Sat-Chit Anand, which is the so-called absolute immersion with God, with the Sachidanand, what is Satyam Sivam Sundaram? Sri Aurobindo replies that if Sat-Chit Anand refers to the inner Brahma, the Antar Brahma, Satyam Sivam Sundaram refers to the Bahir Brahma, the external manifestation of the Brahma. Brahma has different swarups, and these two swarups comes very closer to the experience of a yogi, Satchit Anand, and the experience of a dancer, Satyam Sivam Sundaram. And that is where the beauty of the yogic exercise of a dancer culminates in combining the mind, body, heart and soul. And that takes me to one of the saying of Natya Shastra, one of the couplets of Natya Shastra, which talks about the concentration. Because ancient Indian civilization was not having artificial intelligence, was not having any kind of instruments. They developed the instruments within the body, and the instruments which we are still not using it because we are not aware of our embodied consciousness. The shlok says, it teaches it's a profound teaching not only about the dance, it's a profound teaching about anything you do in life. I was telling my nephew this morning that it's also applicable to other fields. Yato hasta tato drishti, yato drishti tato manah, yato manah tato bhava, yato bhava tato rasa. Look at your hands, what it is doing. Put your eyes there and put your mind there. And when you have put your hands, eyes, minds, and put your bhav, the bliss comes out, the ras comes out, and that is how the people have taught us to hold the audience together, to create the rasa and to create the bliss in terms of activities like Odissi, Bharatnatyam, Kathak, or anything of that sort. Finally, I would like to say that in the book of Reela, science meets culture, and culture connects to heritage, or culture or is embedded in heritage. And science, culture and heritage confluence takes us to the deeper meaning of life. And it is where the Bharat Bodh Kendra's birth and Bharat Bodh Kendra's initiation holds such great potential to transmit or to unravel the Indian system of knowledge, making it intelligible to the younger mass, to the youth. And all my congratulations to the organizers of this event and to Madam Reela Hota. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Soumendra Mohan ji, for your deep insights, encouraging words, and anthropological views on the subject and the book. Now, I invite Professor Rajnish Kumar Mishra to say a few words on about the book.
नृत्तावसाने नटराज राजो ननादि ढक्काम नवपंचवारम उद्धर्तु कामः सनकादि सिद्धान् एतद् विमर्शे शिवसूत्र जालम. Chairperson of the session, Professor K.G. Suresh ji, my fellow panelists, Professor Soumendra Mohan Patnaik ji, and my friend Ajay ji here, and of course the author, very, very promising, I must say, very enlightening book I have gone through, Madam Reela ji, and all the audience, learned audience in front of me. Let me begin with the author herself. She is fully qualified to write such a wonderful work. I am telling you from the introduction and the kind of presentation she has just made that she is coming from the art and spiritual background, and she has herself practiced various forms of yoga, bhakti yoga, hatha yoga, raj yoga, mantra yoga, participated in many Vedic yagyas, and she has experienced the life of ashrama, and she has also taken mantra diksha and karma sannyas, and that's why she is fully equipped and she is fully competent to blend spiritual principles with the classical dance of our country, one of the classical dance of our country, Odissi. I am reminded of a very famous, as Suresh ji was telling us about the Samlapa. In Upanishad, there is a conversation between Narad and Sanat Kumar, Vrihadaranyaka Upanishad. And Narad ji says that I have studied all these 14 Vidyas, and I have heard that those who have studied, those who know these Vidyas, they transcend suffering. But I am not that kind of person. I have still suffering. I still feel grief. So now preach me something. Then he asks him that what you have studied. Then he enumerates all these 14 Vidyas, and then he says that, oh, fine, you are simply a mantravit, not an atmavit. You know these Vidyas only through words. You know the words only. You have not experienced them. That's why it's such a great experience to go through this book. And in writing this book, I can very well experience how the Shastra, Tantra Yukti, and experience go together in the author of this book. She has, since she is a practitioner, she is a performer, she knows theories and how it is to be performed and what kind of impact it generates on the, on the performer as well as on the viewers. So I think this book fulfills a very, very major gap, and that is, one is that it's a scientific study of the dance form Odissi, and she has herself written that no explanation of the reasons behind the postures and its intricate design have been made or explained so far. And another is the healing aspect of art or dance. These are the major objectives, and these are the real contributions to this dance form. And so far, interpretation of this dance form and other yogic forms are concerned, she says that internal effects of Odissi on the dancer rather than its external impact on the audience. No, this is fine, but if performance takes place, it never leaves the audience away. I mean, audience is already absorbed in this kind of performance. But it's always better to, focus on the performance, and the performer becomes a source of energy, source of blissfulness, and it radiates from her to the audience. You know, in our culture, dharma, darshan, kala, vigyan, tantra, adhyatma, they have never been treated separately. And this book is an evidence of this, you know. So these all are, they all complement each other. You cannot understand adhyatma in absence of any of these, or kala in absence of any of these things. So it is very, very important that, and I must reiterate again, that not many performers or theoreticians are competent to present this kind of content the way Reela ji has done in this book. And you see, there are so many things that right from the beginning in our culture, artist has been designated by terms like sadhak, yogin, mantrin. These are the designations of the artist in our culture. So art is not simply a form of entertainment. Art, when an artist performs or takes forward the tradition of art, naturally he or she earns livelihood. That's very important to survive. Second, with him or her, that tradition or lineage of art continues. It never fades away. And the third is that it is purely spiritual, adhyatmic. And all our art forms and shastras, they teach us that how to come back to our own self. हमारी कलाएं बहिर्मुखी नहीं बनाती, अभिमुख करती हैं, आत्मा के अभिमुख करती हैं. This is the greatness of our art. All these 64 art forms, all the shastras, they finally culminates into the knowledge of one's own self. You know, because right from the beginning, Indian civilization has been in quest of the self. This is the major quest. This is the major characteristics of our culture. So through art forms, through knowledge traditions, and I'm reminded of this Bharat Bodh. Bharat Bodh is ultimately the Atma Bodh. You know, we understand, we experience our own self. This is the Bharat Bodh all about. Since she has drawn parallel between various angas of yoga and dance form and its a scientific explanation, that's wonderful comparison. And nowhere you will feel that it is done deliberately. It really springs from her own experience as an artist. So that is, certified by her own experience, that these various chakras and the sound which inheres there, they all are very important. And for example, you see dharana, dhyana and samadhi. In Yoga Sutra, these are the limbs of yogas, 8 limbs of yogas, and 6th, 7th and 8th are dharana, dhyana and samadhi. How beautifully she blends this concept with Odissi, various stages in your Odissi form. So pratyahar is like withdrawal from the external object by focusing on one's chosen object, as deshbandha chittasya dharana. This is how Yoga Sutra says. And all such things, dhyan, for example, uninterrupted concentration, and there says that you focus on one single object and you continue to be there, So this kind of experience, and she relates this pratyahar, dharana and dhyan with aharya, and then dharana with music and dhyan with symbols. This is a beautiful exposition of this kind of this kind of correlation between the various forms of various steps and angas of yoga and the dance form. And you see, so far, I am reminded of another text, Yagyavalkya Smriti. And it says, where you have been discussing this dharana and correlating it with music, it says that Veena Vadan Tattvagya Swara Shastra Visharada Talascha Prayasena Moksha Marga Nigachati. That through all this music is a very, very important component of achieving this moksha. And moksha is, as Abhinav Gupta in his very famous text, Tantra Lok, says that moksho hinam naivanya swarupa prathanam hita. Moksha is nothing else but the expansion of the self. When a dancer dances, it is not the limited space, it is the whole, cosmos. And the way the cosmos is dancing with a rhythm, similarly, the dancer is replicating here. So it is to be one with what the cosmological order is out there. Reela ji has beautifully discussed the concept of bhakti in chapter 6, I think, of this book. And there are many texts and sutra texts, for example, Narad Bhakti Sutra and others, Parasar Bhakti Sutra. And I think there is a beautiful definition of bhakti given by Narad in his Bhakti Sutra, that when you are devoted to some deity, when you remember that deity, you are comfortable, you are in your own self. And even for a fraction of second, if you just forget, there is a kind of, restlessness that emerges. This is bhakti. If you forget for a fraction of a second, you are restless. And this kind of, urge or this kind of, restlessness is well manifested in our art forms and particularly in dance. And then he says that prakashate kwapi patre, ये जो भक्ति है किसी किसी में प्रकाशित होती है, सब में नहीं, है ना, इतना कठिन है ये भक्ति. तो this is also we experience when a performances give the performance, and this is how it goes on. And she talks about dasya, madhurya, sakhya types of bhakti and many more things. I think there is what is the outcome of this book? And I must say this is readable for general, readers as well as for the performers, and for the this could very well be treated as a textbook where you can have this kind of blending of science and spirituality and art. And art has definitely a kind of it is considered as a curative discipline, right from Aristotle in the West. Though I don't consider Aristotle or Plato as a Western scholar, philosopher, they were made Western during the Renaissance. They were not Western, they were a part of the Oriental continuum. Well, so he talks about catharsis, purgation. So art purifies us. And in our culture also, art has this therapeutic value, And as in her presentation, Reela ji has rightly pointed out the impact of ragas and talas and dance forms and all such things. So it's a blending of art, science and spirituality. And she has dealt with this theme at the civilizational level. This is what our culture and civilization tells us about art and spirituality. So very few scholars and performers can do this. And then her own experience as a practitioner. So as I pointed out in the beginning, that it is a text of Shastra, Prayog and Anubhuti, all these three together. And what to say about the relevance of such works? Generally these days we are asking so much about the relevance of a text, and particularly of the text relating to the Indian knowledge system, that this is a different world, how far, to what extent this text is relevant today. I have an answer to this, that first of all, this is not our question. Such questions have never been asked in our culture and civilization regarding the relevance of any work. So typical Western, questions we have imported. Anyways, and but there is a danger. These texts are all-time texts. And thought also embedded there. If we do not study them, if we do not know them, there is a danger to be irrelevant in our own time. We will be irrelevant in our own time if we do not connect with these thought systems. So, art is said that it has a great curative value, and it heals definitely. I think right from the beginning of civilization, from the Krita Yuga to Kali Yuga, suffering has been our perennial companion. Perennial companion. And so is art, that cures us from this suffering. Thank you very much, and congratulations for this wonderful work.
Thank you, Professor Rajnish Kumar Mishra ji, for your deep observation mentioned in the book. May I now request Professor Ajay Verma ji, so please come and share your views with us.
So, first of all, let me begin with a formal note of thanks to the organizers. I'm really happy and honored to be here. So my thanks to the chair, Dr. K.G. Suresh ji, for first of all, coming up with this idea of Bharat Bodh Kendra dialogues. I think it's an excellent effort to know our ideas that were generated in our own country better. So I'm also beholden to my co-panelist, very learned co-panelist, Professor Soumendra Mohan Patnaik, Dr. Saurabh Kumar Tiwari, who couldn't come here today, and my colleague and friend, Professor Rajnish Kumar Mishra ji. And also, I must say, I'm extremely humbled by the presence of Meenakshi Gopinath ji. Actually, I had I was really fortunate. Some 25 years ago, I worked at Lady Shri Ram College. So long time back, I worked there only for a few months, but I know the kind of environment that college provides, and I can see that there must have been a connection, and it must have provided Dr. Reela Hota a really very good atmosphere to nurture the talent. Now that said, let me begin first of all with the title of the book. First of all, let me congratulate the star of the evening, Dr. Reela Hota ji, for coming up with such a wonderful work. And first of all, what struck me was the title of the book itself, which is Odissi Dance, Therapeutics, Aesthetics, and Metaphysics. Generally, very rarely would you find a dancer to really worry about the ideas behind the dance, the ideas that must have given birth to a particular art form at some point of time. And what really surprised me about the book was the span of the spectrum of thought that it covers, from some of the most ancient ideas to some of the most recent researches in different fields, including medical sciences, as you saw in her brief presentation in the beginning. So that was really surprising. I mean, one person having such vast range of knowledge, ideas. So now, having said that, because I'll have to keep my my talk here very, very limited. So what I would be interested in speaking here would be the portion on metaphysics, because this is what philosophers do, and this is what philosophers love doing. as much uninteresting it may be, but this is what we do. So I would take in particular portions from her book which pertain to metaphysics. In her book she briefly discusses, because the metaphysics part of yoga is Sankhya philosophy. So she not only discusses yoga and the different mudras there. She also discusses the philosophy behind it, which is the Sankhya philosophy, because generally Sankhya yoga is mentioned together in the ancient knowledge systems. So very interestingly, in Sankhya system, and it's a dualistic system, so the entire existence is supposed to be composed of two different realities, which is Prakriti and Purusha. And Prakriti is supposed to mention the so to speak manifest aspect or material aspect of the world, and Purusha is supposed to represent the pure consciousness part of the world. But what is of interest for us here is that in one particular verse, Prakriti is compared with Nirtaki. She's compared with a dancer who comes and performs for the sake of liberation of Purusha. And we must understand here, though it's a dualistic system, basically, as we can see, the consciousness is a part of us. So in a human being, these are not two different things. We are consciousness, and there is this materiality to us as well. And this is how basically, the Upanishadic philosophy culminates in the Advaita tradition. So the argument that the Advaitins have against Sankhya yoga system is that it's only apparent dualism. Basically, the fact of the matter is that consciousness and, so to speak, the materiality have only one and single source. And now, another thing that another topic that really interested me in the book was. That she refers to the Tantra tradition, especially Abhinav Gupta, and in her last chapter, she discusses the idea of space and vibrations. So these are two more things I'll speak on, and one of the sort of benefit of being the last speaker is that many of the ideas that I thought I would discuss have already been covered by Professor Rajnish ji. So I would be a little more brief in my speech here. So as far as Abhinav Gupta's philosophy is concerned, which she discusses in the second last chapter, is that first of all, he borrows a good number of ideas from grammarian tradition, and Professor Rajnish Mishra has a good expertise on that, and the grammarian tradition says something very interesting about language, and there's a good discussion on what Bhartari calls Kala Shakti. He puts a lot of emphasis on the importance of time in his metaphysics. So one of the themes that we find not only in Bhartari and later on borrowed from Bhartari by Abhinav Gupta, but this is something recurrent across various knowledge traditions from ancient India, is that many of them talk about some kind of homogeneous state of consciousness, of space, of time, and so on and so forth. Say, for example, in Tantra tradition also, space and time are very important. Say, for example, one of the most important sites is called Mahakal, so which basically refers to time. So sort of, so to speak, undivided time. So what the time that we know is the divided time. So we are aware of only the divisions in time. Whereas Tantra, tries to draw our attention towards the undivided aspect of time. And Bhartari very importantly points out As a matter of fact, Bhartari is a turning point when it comes to philosophy of language. He points out that if we only study the division, so to speak, if we only study the spoken language, which we always find divided, so to speak, then we are not going to get a holistic system. We wouldn't be able to understand it as a whole. So he sort of tells the grammarians who were basically focusing their attention only on the manifest part of speech. It draws their attention to the fact that we think first in the mind and only then we turn it into an utterance. So his idea is that in order to understand the utterances, we must understand the mind where it is being conceived in the first place. Now, this gives us a very important cue to understand dance as a form. So somewhere, and Abhinav Gupta borrows a lot, as I told, as I just said, from Bharat. So what the role of the role that Kal or time has with reference to language. The same role is played by space when we talk about the dance forms. And this is what she at times directly, at times indirectly refers to when she discusses the idea of space and vibrations and so on in her book. So she sort of is very imaginative in this particular chapter. So the idea there is that ultimately there is, just like Abhinav Gupta points out, that there is, some kind of inherent pratibha in us. The word that actually he uses and borrows basically from Bhartari is pratibha. So there is some kind of homogeneous understanding that all of us carry, which is present in the knower. And so to speak, in the world of aesthetics, it would refer to what is called sahrdaya in Abhinav Gupta's philosophy, the audience. So there is something common in consciousness between the sahrdaya, the person who is watching the performance, and the performer herself. There is a uniting principle, and this uniting principle is undivided. It is, impartite. It is without parts. Now, the question is that a dancer is apt in creating division in the consciousness which is otherwise undivided among all of us. So, what a dancer does is that she uses not the medium of time, not so much the medium of time, though she takes help from that because music is in time. So what she does is she creates divisions in space through mudras, and these mudras is like creating divisions in space, and somewhere the sahrdaya, because the music and dance has more universal form than the spoken language. So therefore, you don't have to always, of course, it matters if you know the forms in Odissi, dance and all that, it would definitely matter. But, even if you don't, there is something in unison between the sahrdaya and the performer, which unites them. So the dancer creates divisions in space, and this happens, rather sort of one could say that it manifests from the undivided space within. She refers to that as, in yoga philosophy, it'll be sort of dharana, pratyahara, and so on and so forth. Samadhi is an undivided state. Chitta vritti nirodha there also is one of the sort of idea, one of the ideals to pursue. So, and then because it's the same consciousness principle in the sahrdaya as well, so that space which within which divisions are created by the dancer is recollected, because it's only when a thought has to be divided within space and time in order to be delivered. There is no other way. In impartite way, you cannot deliver it. But when you collect it, when the sahrdaya collects it, it has to be again in some undivided form. And emotions are sort of, in a certain sense, they are undivided. Of course, there is a consciousness behind that as well, which is of pure witness self, which is called Sakshi in Advaita, and sort of has a similar counterpart in Abhinav Gupta's Tantra philosophy. So it is, so to speak, recollected in the Sahriday, by the person who's watching, and this is how this circle, and she also points out that time and space is not considered as linear. It's considered as circular. So to speak, the circle gets completed, begins, so to speak, the circle, the entire sort of from homogeneity to heterogeneity to again homogeneous state. This circle gets completed in Sahar. There's something that is started by the performer. So since I think I've already sort of completed the time that was given to me. So again, let me congratulate her for her wonderful book. And I sort of must say that she, I don't know whether she studied philosophy while she was at LSR. Political science, but I sort of her reading in different philosophical sort of works and ancient text really surprised me, and I'm sort of I was very happy to sort of go through the book, and I'm sure sort of all of you are going to like it. So congratulations once again. Thank you.
Thank you for those very insightful, your remarks. And now the floor is open for very brief either observation or question if you have any. But please identify yourself and you can make your remark. But please be brief.
I'm Dinesh Sharma. I'm a journalist, and my first disclaimer is that I'm a totally novice person about the dance and culture. But I have a question, not a question, rather I'm curious to know one thing from Dr. Reela Hota. In what way this Odissi dance has influenced other forms of dances in India, and vice versa? How other forms of dances have influenced this Odissi dance?
It's like, let me say that it's like rice. So we in Odisha, possibly the spice may be a little bit different. Somewhere maybe in Tamil Nadu, they may be putting a little vegetable. Somewhere they may be putting a little dal, but rice is rice. So we all the classical dancers, we all get us, our main source is the Natya Shastra, and you'll find a lot of commonality in all of the classical dances. The differences are very minute, and so because we have this ancient text, which I'll say is the rice, and then the regional little bit spicing is the regional yes, variations. And how we influence each other, our traditions are so strong that I think we have just held on to it, and I don't think we have influenced each other in any way. Thank you.
Chronologically, first came dance or first came yoga?
Dance was at the age of 8, and yoga was at the age of 11, at least. Yeah. So in my research, my understanding is that these methods were there together with the evolution of consciousness. They kind of were there together, and apparently they were a part of the tantric system, because my guru Swami Satyanandji has said that Tantra is one of the oldest spiritual traditions, and all these, there were various methods of expanding the mind. So there would be some postures, there would be dance, there would be music, There would be different things, all mantras. It was all broadly under Tantra. And according to him, it was in the Vedic period that they became like solidified into different streams. And each became its own like a stream. So, and that is when even Natya Shastra solidified it a little more also. But according to him, that they were all part of the tantric system.
If I may add, Shiva is supposed to be the first yogi. So that's the Adi yogi that we are talking about. And they said that he's the first yogi, and the yoga postures were all actually his postures, which have then been related to the cosmic self and to the physical agility and the spirituality on the whole.
Yes,
And
but
he
you
also,
are-
Shiva
yes.
also is the father of the dance form. So when we look at Shiva Shakti, as you've mentioned as well, so the two go hand in hand, and his the romance dance and the Tandav dance are both actually Lasya, and the Tandav dance are both creations of Shiva. So now did the egg come first or the chicken come first? It stems out of Shiva. He is the father of the dance form, and he's also the father of yoga.
So actually, if you, whether it is physics or whether it is our spiritual traditions, we say that there is nothingness, and then there is a spandan and Om. You can say it Om, or you can say Shiva and Shakti. So the duality happened together. And if Shiva has created the Tanda, Parvati has created the Lasya. And they cannot be, you cannot say Shiva came first and then the consciousness energy, that it happened at the same time. So there was Brahman, which is the potential, and then there is creation, which is Shiva and Shakti, right? And sir, aapka can you just again repeat your question? I wanted to, you said something, Anji.
Is the dance is the choreography of yoga, or yoga was separated from dance later?
So I believe that dance is Natya yoga. तो योगा जो है उसमें अलग अलग ब्रांचेस हैं. तो योग में भक्ति योग है, मंत्र योग है. आप जो योग के बारे में हम लोग आजकल जानते हैं, दैट इज़ हठ योग, पोस्चर्स. बट उसमें राज योग है, मेडिटेशन इज़ फ्रॉम राज योग. तो वो अलग अलग योगास हैं. तो सारा का सम्मिश्रण होके एक नाट्य योग बना है. थोड़ा सा भक्ति योग ले लिया, थोड़ा सा मंत्र योग लैंग्वेज से ले लिया. हम लोग संस्कृत के ऊपर डांस करते हैं. थोड़ा सा हठ योग ले लिया, पोस्चर्स. थोड़ा सा हमारा तंत्र से मुद्राज ले लिया. तो इस वजह से डांस को कहते हैं कि सिंथेसिस ऑफ ऑल योगास.
How much time you took to write this book? And there are many other dance form also claims this therapeutic effects. There are many dance forms, Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, they also claim their dance has this therapeutic effects. So Odissi has any special effects, or you similar to those, or you regarding references, how much?
जी. So 2 questions. So first is that to write, I did a research with senior as a senior fellow with the Ministry of Culture. So it was supposed to be for 2 years, but I had to take an extension 6 months, and then another 2 years to convert my research work into a book. So about 5 years. And about Odissi versus other classical dances, no, they are all therapeutic. If they are classical dances, they're traditional dances, they're ancient dances, dance, painting, or any other art form, as long as they are following certain core principles, they are all therapeutic. That's what this book is trying to say. The only reason why I have particularly talked about Odissi is because I'm an expert in it. So I know all the postures, what their names are. If I had to write a book, I did think about it, about all the dance forms. It would have taken me much longer to write the book, because if I say Choka, I know that posture in Choka, I know that posture in yoga. But I don't know the posture in Manipuri, in Bharatanatyam, in Kuchipudi. I don't know the posture, the name. It doesn't come to me that easily. It's the same thing with Natya Shastra mein ek hi naam hai, but all of us have started calling it by different names now. It's the same posture, but we call it by different names. So for me to give make an accurate academic work, that is the only reason why I have kept it to Odissi. But if you see the book, my book is a very different take, that it's just says that whatever art form or whatever dance, painting, whatever, it's the principles that it follows that make it therapeutic.
I congratulate you. It's an excellent tradition. I am Hira Vallabh Joshi, an author on Sanatan Dharma. One just a query. Since dance, to my understanding, is a devotion, yes, you have given so many dimensions of it. That is, everything is there. From the performer's point of view, it is yoga. Then how do you think that the audience, to my understanding, it is not the performance directed to an audience. That may be the subsequent addition or dimension. Is it a hindrance to the performer, or the performer takes everyone along? Thank you.
So actually, it's a very good question, and the audience helps us to get more concentrated, because we have to perform well. At home, we can kind of get distracted or stop for a sip of water if we are thirsty, or if you forget something, it is okay. बट जब आप लोग साथ होते हैं, हमारा कॉन्सेंट्रेशन बहुत अधिक बढ़ जाता है. और यज्ञ में जैसे कहा गया है ना, दैट इफ़ यू आर डूइंग योर यज्ञ ऑन योर ओन इट इज़ फाइन, बट वो जो एनर्जी है, ऊर्जा है, वो जब ज़्यादा लोग बैठते हैं तो इट मल्टीप्लिकेट्स, इफ दैट्स द वर्ड. So having an audience is I think creates a very kind of like a yajna atmosphere. That's why dance को यज्ञ के तरह ही बोला गया है.
To understand Odissi, I'm not into classical dance, and this is my first exposure. And I would also like to congratulate Samlapa dialogue series, which has been initiated here, and it's good that you begun with this incredible book. And I work on the folk, not on classical, since I understood that I'm a social historian. Okay, dance is therapeutic. My only question to you is, as a practitioner, would you consider folk dance or folk therapeutic as well?
Yes, very much so. As I said, they have to be traditional, and they have to, because if you see, our जैसे कि वो you know, we have I mean, they have the same elements. It's just that classical dance is a little more complex. That is the only difference. Otherwise, they have the same music, the rhythms, the tempos, the balancing. All of that is there. And if you see, like the way Bihu, I was just about to say about Bihu, the way they make their movements, it's a very yogic movement where they're activating their heart chakra. These movements are not ordinary. They have been thought of.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad that this discussion has triggered so many questions, and I'm sure that after this program also, Reela ji is available here to respond to your questions. But all good things must come to an end. But Samlapa, it has just begun. So, I am grateful. I let me, apart from concluding, let me also extend a vote of thanks to all my fellow panelists who have taken time off from their very hectic schedules. And I know after a whole day at the university, then coming to Habitat Center to speak on a very important topic is not an easy task. But they have come, of course, for a special regards to the author. But other than that, their love for, the subject has brought them here. I'm grateful to each one of you, Professor Ajay Verma, Professor Patnaik, Professor Mishra, and of course, Reela ji, the star of the evening, for allowing us at Bharat Bodh Kendra, India Habitat Center, to have the honor of hosting this evening with her book, this discussion. I'm sure that it has triggered a thought process and a keenness, a desire, a curiosity to further go deep into the subject. I urge particularly the members to certainly visit the Bharat Bodh Kendra segment of our library. There are books, and you can also suggest some books, for further advancement of this field of knowledge. And of course, the young research scholars who are present here, you just have to come in and give us a letter from your institution saying that you are doing research on this subject, we will allow you to use our library. And as I said, this is the beginning of a series. On 9th afternoon at 2:30 p.m., we are having the first round of, this is the Bharat Bodh Kendra and Indian Communication Congress, like the Indian Science Congress, like the Indian History Congress. We have an Indian Communication Congress. We are having the first workshop on Natya Shastra and Indian knowledge system. That's in the boardroom of IHC headquarters, located on 6th floor, core 5A. Those who are interested may drop in at 2:30 p.m. at the boardroom of India Habitat Center. I extend a warm welcome to you. And let me assure you, this Samlapa series, this is the beginning, and there will be more such insightful programs. You can also suggest as members, some topics, some books for discussion, and we will be delighted to have discussions on these very important topics, which could lead us to better understanding of our culture, better appreciation of our civilizational legacy, our ethos, our values. On that note, thank you everyone. Thank you to the team at HLRC, the team at Bharat Bodh Kendra for making this happen, and to each one of you, once again, Happy Teachers Day, Happy Onam, and Happy Eid. Thank you.
Now I request.
Absolutely.
Now I request our Honorable Director ISC to honor our today's author and all dignitaries panelists.
So the star should get a star. नमस्कार। आज भारत बोध केंद्र, भारत पर्यावास केंद्र के तत्वाधान में हमने संलाप एक श्रृंखला शुरू की है, जिसका उद्देश्य भारतीय सभ्यता, भारतीय संस्कृति, भारतीय इतिहास, भारतीय विरासत को जन जन तक पहुंचाना है। उस उद्देश्य से भारत बोध केंद्र ने ये कार्यक्रम, ये श्रृंखला शुरू की है। और पहला कार्यक्रम जो है सुप्रसिद्ध ओडिसी नृत्यांगना सुश्री रीला होता जी के पुस्तक जो है, उस पर हमने एक विमर्श, एक चर्चा के साथ हमने शुरू की। आज देश के जाने माने विद्वान, संस्कृत के, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी के, इतिहास के, उन्होंने इस विषय पर अपने विचार रखे। और मुझे लगता है कि इस कार्यक्रम से भारत के जो नाट्यशास्त्र है और नाट्यशास्त्र के सिवा उड़ीसी जो नृत्य है, इसके बारे में हमारी समझ बढ़ी है। हमने इसको बेहतर, इस कोई एक मात्र एक नृत्य के रूप में सिर्फ अवलोकन नहीं किया, उसके गहराई तक जाने का हमें एक अवसर मिला। मुझे विश्वास है कि इस श्रृंखला के माध्यम से हम और भी भारतीय सभ्यता से जुड़े हुए विषयों को लेकर हम लोग जो है जन जन तक पहुँचेंगे, विशेषकर हमारे सदस्यों के लिए जो मैं समझता हूँ कि हर विधा से जो है संबंध रखते हैं। और यह कार्यक्रम का शुरुआत है। हम रीला जी को बधाई देते हैं, धन्यवाद देते हैं, और सभी हमारे जो यहाँ आज कार्यक्रम में जिन्होंने भी भाग लिया, सभी को धन्यवाद देते हैं कि इस महत्वपूर्ण आयोजन में भाग लिया।
Bharat Bodh Kendra's first Samlapa series, which discussed Dr. Reela Hota's innovative book, Odissi Dance, Therapeutics, Aesthetics and Metaphysics. Though the canvas is very broad, it is also equally incisive. It explores a logical terrain which connects the individual performer not only with the audience but also with the entire cosmos. Here is an example of a work which is highly innovative in terms of holding a promise for social science methodology. I would like to explore the possibility of including this into different syllabus or different curriculum, where the Indian knowledge system is providing the gauge to understand everyday activities like science, wellness, health, connecting it to the internal consciousness of Kundalini, the various tattvas, the philosophical traditions, and the like. Welcome addition to the scanty literature and an innovative step in understanding the dance in the most possible complete manner.
नमस्कार। यह ग्रंथ ओडिसी को भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा में उसकी संपूर्णता के साथ प्रस्तुत करता है। प्रायः हम लोग हमारी ज्ञान विधाओं को अलग अलग करके देखते हैं, लेकिन इस बुक की जो शक्ति है वो इसकी इंटीग्रिटी में है, जिसमें धर्म है, विज्ञान है, अध्यात्म है, योग है, कला है, सब कुछ है, जो हमारी भारतीय दृष्टि रही है, ज्ञान दृष्टि रही है। इधर के कुछ वर्षों में शायद हम इस तरह से विचार करना भूल गए हैं। और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि इस ग्रंथ की रचना में जो विद्वत्ता है, सिद्धांत है और उसका जो प्रयोग है, और साथ ही साथ जो परफॉर्मर की जो अनुभूति है, कलाकार की प्रयोक्ता की जो अनुभूति है, उन सबसे समाहित होकर के, मिल करके, उससे शक्ति संपन्न होकर के यह ग्रंथ तैयार हुआ है। और इसलिए मैं समझता हूँ कि इसमें लिखी गई प्रत्येक बात प्रामाणिक है, क्योंकि यह उस कलाकार का अपना अनुभव है, वह भी इसको प्रमाणित करता है। और साथ ही साथ यह हम सब के लिए एक बहुत ही पठनीय ग्रंथ बन जाता है, क्योंकि इतनी डायमेंशंस को इंटीग्रेट करके एक साथ लेकर के लिखा जाने वाला या प्राप्त होने वाला ग्रंथ इधर के वर्षों में बहुत कम दिखता है। इसके लिए डॉक्टर रीला होता जी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और हम सभी आशा करते हैं कि आगे भी जैसे इनका परफॉर्मेंस है, वैसे ही और इस तरह की कृतियों का भी निर्माण वो करेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
I'm so delighted to be present at this amazing initiative, both by the IHC and the fact that Dr. Reela Hota's book is being discussed. It brings together years of sadhana and years of an integrated vision. I have not seen a book like this since Kapila Vatsyayanji wrote her book, and I think there's a great future for Reela in the area of dance, aesthetics and philosophy. I wish her all the best. The panelists expanded the many dimensions and the possibilities of philosophical inquiry that this book presents to all of us. It's a treasure, and I thank Reela. She's a student who's far surpassed all the gurus that have taught her. I wish her all the best. Thank you.
So something that really strikes me about this book is that it brings together the diverse areas of study, or what are considered to be diverse areas of studies, like therapeutics, aesthetics and metaphysics. So an ordinary person would think that there wouldn't be any kind of an interface between these three different topics, but I believe in this book she brings these three areas wonderfully together, and she seems to have expertise on the practice of not only the practice of yoga and the different dance form and the Odissi dance form, but also the philosophy behind it, basically the metaphysics behind it, and these have been brought forward wonderfully well in her book. So I congratulate her for this wonderful venture, and this would sure interest many readers.
सर्वप्रथम डॉक्टर रीला होता जी को बहुत बहुत बधाई कि उन्होंने इतना सुंदर काम किया है, और स्पेशली जबकि वो हमारी CCRT की ही शोधार्थी रही हैं। CCRT से उन्हें सीनियर फेलोशिप मिली, और बड़े गौरव की बात है कि उन्होंने नृत्य को लेके किस तरीके से, खास करके जब हम भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा की बात करते हैं, तो भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को देखते हुए जो राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति भी कह रहा है कि किस तरीके से हम उसको अपने संस्कृति से, अपने कला और ख़ास करके जो हमारी सांस्कृतिक विरासत है उसको कैसे जोड़ें। तो उन्होंने आने वाले जो हमारी जनरेशन है उनको एक बहुत ही सुंदर मैसेज दिया है कि जब आप किसी भी कला का प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त करते हैं तो उसमें आपको इन सारी बातों का ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि किस तरीके से हमारी जो कला है वो एक बहुत ही अच्छा साधन है अपने आप को जानने का। इट इज़ अ जर्नी ऑफ सेल्फ basically experiencing herself, or maybe through different perspective like spirituality, dance as a knowledge, as a wisdom, as a knowledge system she has experienced herself. और उसमें उन्होंने जो एक ड्यूअल रोल है, जैसा पैनलिस्ट ने बताया कि योग को भी किस तरीके से उन्होंने एक्सपीरियंस किया है और नृत्य को भी किस तरीके से एक्सपीरियंस किया है, और दोनों के माध्यम से उन्होंने एक समाज को बहुत सुंदर एक संदेश देने की कोशिश की है कि किस तरीके से हम अपनी भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा के माध्यम से अपने आप को समझ सकते हैं और अपने जीवन को बहुत सुंदर तरीके से जी सकते हैं. तो मैं उनको बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूँ कि उन्होंने बहुत ही अच्छा काम किया है, और आने वाली जो जनरेशन है, जो CCRT के स्कॉलर्स हैं, उनको भी बहुत अच्छा मैसेज दिया है, और मुझे लगता है उनको भी प्रेरणा मिलेगी कि वो भी अपने काम को इस तरीके से समाज के समक्ष रख सकें. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
नमस्कार. आज का ये जो कार्यक्रम अटेंड किया, मैं तो धन्यवाद बोलूँगा रीला जी को कि उन्होंने मुझे इसका एक पार्ट बनाया. बहुत कुछ जानने को मिला, और इनसे तो हमेशा जानने को ही मिलता है और सुनने को मिलता है, क्योंकि डांस फॉर्म को एक्सप्लेन करना, नॉलेज देना, ये सोचिए कि कितना नॉलेज उन्होंने अपने खुद से बढ़ाया होगा, इसके लिए कितना उन्होंने रिसर्च किया होगा कि जो हम पोस्चर देते हैं डांस फॉर्म में, उस चीज़ को एक्सप्लेन करना, उसको योग से जोड़ना, क्योंकि योग और नृत्य का रिश्ता शुरू से ही चला आ रहा है, आदिकाल से, वैदिक काल से. तो क्योंकि मैं पखावज बजाता हूँ तो मुझे भी अंदाज़ा है, क्योंकि पखावज भी आदिकाल का साज है, और इसमें कितना हमारे डांस में म्यूज़िक का जो एक अपना मिलाप है, वो बड़ा ही, कहते नहीं एक दूसरे के बिना अधूरे हैं दोनों. तो शिव शक्ति कहे तो वो एक म्यूज़िक और डांस को मिला के शिव शक्ति का एक जो फॉर्म बनता है. तो आज की यूथ को भी कि डांस करना और उसके बारे में जानना, दोनों में फ़र्क है, उसको एक्सप्लेन करना, उसमें फ़र्क है. तो इन्होंने इतना बड़ा ये प्रोजेक्ट आज सबके सामने लाए, ये हमारे आने वाले भविष्य में इसको बहुत ही एक बड़ा इनका कंट्रीब्यूशन है हमारे कंट्री के लिए, हमारे आर्ट एंड कल्चर के लिए, कि इस चीज़ को लोग आगे जाके पढ़ेंगे, समझेंगे, सीखेंगे. और मैं बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूं कि ये बुक, और सबसे कहूँगा भी कि ज़रूर पढ़ें, और मैं भी ज़रूर पढ़ूँगा, क्योंकि कुछ ऐसी बहुत अच्छी चीज़ें हैं जो मुझे भी जानने को मिली है. और सीखना और सिखाना तो जीवन भर चलता रहता है. कहते हैं सीखेंगे तो सिखाएंगे, यही एक लाइफ का हमारा साइकिल है जो चलता रहेगा. रीला जी बहुत बहुत बधाई, आपको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, और रिक्वेस्ट है सबसे कि इस बुक को ज़रूर पढ़ें, बहुत नॉलेजेबल है, और आगे यूथ इसको बहुत लाइक करेगा, पढ़ना ज़रूरी है. थैंक यू. नमस्कार.